had, second to none.
Oh! He front kicked him in the face!
Absolutely wrestling to finish it!
So round number 2, I'm talking about the recently announced co-main event to UFC 235, and as of now, co-main event to UFC 235, pending whether Jon Jones is approved or not to compete in Nevada. So, the co-main event of this event is Tyron Woodley defending his welterweight championship belt against Kamaru Usman. How did we get to this point? If you remember earlier last year, it was Colby Covington taking on Rafael dos Anjos for the interim championship of the world, of the welterweight interim title. According to Dana White and the UFC, Tyron Woodley was apparently injured and unable to defend his belt, but then again somehow managed to defend his belt about 2 or a month later against Darren Till. I don't know. The UFC just seems to have it out for Tyron Woodley, and that's the feeling that I've been getting. He has not been promoted like a champion. He has not been featured like a champion. At the same time, Tyron has not made it easy for himself either by constantly bickering with the UFC and voicing his frustration over the fact that they're not paying any attention to him. Now, you could put the blame also on Mr. Woodley. His fights have not been exciting. His 2 fights against Wonderboy Thompson were pretty boring. His fight against Darren Till was the exact same fight I saw him do against Stephen Thompson. Look, people call the first fight against Stephen Thompson a classic. I don't know what the hell is considered a classic anymore. If that's what we're throwing around, then this is just like the movie generation, the music generation, where everything is just a classic. Those fights were okay at best. The first fight was okay at best. The second fight was, you could put anyone to sleep with that one, and the Darren Till fight, nothing great either. Prior to that, he had 1 knockout win, and that was against Robbie Lawler. But other than that, this guy's just been going to decision, either winning or losing, and he's never truly been that exciting guy who's looking for the knockout. You take that aside, his technique and his style has been flawless, and it's why he's been winning. No one's been able to hit him, no one's been able to grapple him, no one's been able to do anything. I look at Tyron Woodley, and it kind of reminds me of a Floyd Mayweather. Now, they're completely 2 different fighters, but in terms of the defensive style that Tyron Woodley uses to make sure he's out of reach of every strike you're trying to hit him with, that is a Floyd Mayweather-esque style. The fact that he's able to pick his spots and land the shots that he wants, that is Floyd Mayweather-esque. So maybe that's what the UFC is not too crazy about. What happened last year with Colby Covington is that he went on to defeat Rafael dos Anjos by unanimous decision to capture the interim championship belt of the world. Now, the UFC's plan was to put Colby Covington and Tyron Woodley together in a matchup. But Colby was dealing with some injuries or some issues, and he wanted to fight at a later date. Instead, the UFC decided, oh, you don't want to compete? We're just taking that belt we gave you away from you. Which is kind of pointless and kind of crazy to even think. You opened up an interim championship opportunity, you gave it to a guy who earned the right, and now he wants to fight Tyron Woodley. He's been asking for this fight for months, for even a whole year almost. Tyron's been asking for this fight for a whole year. But at the same time, as these two have been bickering and wanting to fight each other, there's another man who's been creeping around, and that is Kamaru Usman. He's been earning himself some major victories over the likes of Damian Maia and most recently against Rafael dos Anjos. See, what the UFC decided to do, which what the original plan was to give Colby Covington the title shot against Tyron Woodley at UFC 235, and it was something that they both had agreed upon. On the flip side, the UFC decided, you know what? I like Kamaru Usman's performance against Rafael dos Anjos. Fuck Colby Covington, we're giving him the championship belt. We're giving him the championship shot, I mean. See, there's a lot of backstage politics that seems to be going on here. See, the rightful #1 contender is truly Colby Covington. But due to the fact he has been inactive and not as active as Kamaru Usman, which is what I said, been creeping up on the side. See, Kamaru's been active. He's been accepting every fight that you've been giving him. Colby, on the other hand, has been like, nah, I don't want that, I don't want that. I want Tyron Woodley, which he has every right and claim for. This is the guy who was your interim champion. By logic, the interim champion should be competing against the champion once the champion is healthy. I don't even know who's making the decisions in the office anymore, and it seems like it's not Dana White anymore. I know Dana White has his problems with Tyron Woodley, but now you're booking a matchup in the likes of Tyron Woodley taking on Kamaru Usman. You're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You got Colby Covington in the background waiting and wondering, hey, when the hell am I getting my shot? I don't know what's going to happen with Colby. It seems like the UFC is going to want to put him in a 1 more match. He wins that match, and then maybe he gets a title shot. But the Kamaru Usman and a Tyron Woodley matchup on paper, just like the Jon Jones and Anthony Smith fight, it's a good matchup on paper. They're evenly styled, they're evenly matched up. You got two good wrestlers competing against one another, and you got one guy who's pretty efficient in striking. Kamaru Usman's striking ability has been improving over the years. So what we're going to see is we're not going to see that same karate-esque style matchup that Tyron's been having in the last 3 fights. We're going to see a guy who's going to come out there and want to push the pressure and give him some trouble. If you look at Colby Covington, that's the exact same style as Kamaru Usman. Both these guys are back-to-back, a resemblance of one another. The question is which one does the job better than the other. Now, in this case, what's going to happen right now is you're going to have Kamaru Usman, a guy who's not relatively known to the major market out there. The hardcore fans know who he is. I know who he is. He's a great fighter and deserves an opportunity. But you take him over the likes of Colby Covington, who is probably going to have sold this entire event. He would have talked as much trash as Conor McGregor has talked over the last couple of years, if not more, and if not more ridiculous than what Conor has ever said. And that would have generated the right attention for Tyron Woodley. See, what this could have done is it could have skyrocketed Mr. Woodley's career. It could have skyrocketed his value in the company. Had he gone out there against a Colby Covington and defeated Colby, and then gone on to fight Kamaru Usman and defeated Kamaru Usman, there's no argument as to how good Tyron Woodley is and as to why you can't promote him. Because then he not only went to shut up the guy who was just talking as much shit as possible and is a Trump supporter, which already what he has against him with the fans, and that therefore makes Tyron Woodley now the face of this matchup. He is the good guy going up against the Republican, the guy who just wants to make the UFC great again. Who wants to make shit happen and wants to talk as much shit as possible. You got the classic combatant taking on the average day new millennial fighter who finds that the only way to make it in this business is to talk as much shit as possible. And you took that away from us. Now you're putting a relatively quiet Kamaru Usman, but good fighter, against a relatively quiet Tyron Woodley. Look, the card from itself, the UFC 235, is stacked as of right now. So it shouldn't have any trouble selling based off the stacked part. But I feel Tyron Woodley needed a Chael Sonnen in his career right now. And what I mean by Chael is you take Anderson Silva's career, he had a fantastic career, but once Chael came in, Anderson Silva became a major focus of the organization. He became the guy that the UFC looked at like, look, he defeated this guy with less than a few seconds left. He had this guy just berating him with insults and this and that, and then he made him pay for it in the second time around. This could have been Tyron Woodley's calling call. Unfortunately, we're not going to get that. We're going to get him against Kamaru Usman, and then eventually, if all goes according to plan, we may finally get that Colby Covington matchup. I find this matchup against Kamaru Usman, it's a good fight. It's stylistically interesting and something I do want to watch, and I think fans should get excited about. But at the time, for the time that it's going to be taking place, I just don't think it was the right time and the right place for Kamaru Usman to jump over Colby Covington. We're going to see what's going to happen in this matchup. Maybe Kamaru Usman picks up the victory and then ends up fighting Colby Covington. I know both of them have some beef. They're going back and forth and they all want to fight each other. But then you also got to think back, you've got a Ben Askren on the same card that's taking on Robbie Lawler. The winner of this matchup has a legitimate, and I'm looking at Ben Askren, he's got a legitimate claim for the next championship, next opportunity at the belt, if he chooses to want to compete against Tyron Woodley. If it's Kamaru Usman, I know he'll have no problem taking that fight. If it's Colby Covington, I know without a doubt he'd love to take that matchup too. So there's a lot of factors in this welterweight division, therefore making it one of the most exciting divisions to watch in 2019. With all of that being said, we're going to head straight into round number 3. We've gone a little over time. I tend to do that, but let's get into round number 3, ladies and gentlemen.